Hi, and welcome back to Guff Stuff Weekly Podcast. I'm Javen.
I'm Guff.
And I was thinking,
Oh,
we call it the Weekly Podcast,
yep,
but we do it twice a week.
that's true. What should we call it?
The Guff Stuff Podcast?
Let's just do it. Call it Guff Stuff Podcast. That's fine.
Rather than the Weekly
I
Podcast?
mean, I'm up for name changes anytime.
Okay.
I don't mind that.
Anyways, I'm Javen.
Yeah, I'm Guff.
I don't know if we said that already.
We already did.
We did?
We repeated ourselves. That's fine.
That's okay. It's twice a week, so we have
That's
to.
right. You're out twice a week, so now we did it. So, well, maybe we should just go to 5 days a week.
5 days a week, every single day a new podcast.
Oh,
We'd run out of topics.
No, we wouldn't.
Well, we wouldn't, but
We could just do like every other podcast does and just talk about whatever's on the news that
we'd
day.
probably just be like punching each other in the face.
Should we just do the news podcast and we'll just take Google News and see what's up?
Nah. Maybe Gamer News Podcast.
Oh, here we go. Pal World released new stuff. Pixel Overlord. Oh, that looks fun.
But we came here with an agenda today.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did.
Because we're going to talk about DM?
Game
GM?
Masters.
MC?
MCs. Yeah.
DM? I always say DM.
Yeah, so
Like, I just default to DM.
even if it makes no sense, yeah, DM
Yeah.
just makes
Oh,
sense.
you're playing Starfinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the dungeon master. There's no
What?
dungeons in space. Theater of the mind,
Yep.
kids.
They don't even call it. I think there was a game that I played. It was called Referee. I think
Well,
I was
first-
literally a
first-
referee.
The first edition, they say that you're a referee.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I just
It
remember.
was like the original, the OG D&D, like the white box was like you're a referee.
yeah,
or
it's
something
not like
that.
you're not even a dungeon master or game
That-
master. You're just a referee.
Yeah, that's back when you, if you were playing an elf, that was your class.
Does that mean I come in with my zebra uniform on and my
Yeah.
yellow popcorn and my
Yeah.
yellow flag and just yell whenever somebody does something wrong?
You couldn't be an elven fighter. You were either an elf or
Oh,
a fighter.
jeez, that's my first character was a dwarven
Dwarf.
fighter.
A dwarven fighter.
No, but it was a dwarf.
It was a dwarf.
Yeah.
But all dwarfs were fighters.
They call them fighters because that's just what because I'm like, I didn't understand the difference, of
Yeah.
course, until I got to level 9 or 10 when you hit the dwarven cap of levels.
Oh yeah.
That's all the farther you could go. Everybody else kept going. I'm like, I'm stuck at 9.
Yeah.
I'm like, thanks. I think it was 9. Might have been 10, but
I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about some DMing stuff today. We're gonna cover probably different styles of DMing. We're probably gonna talk about tips and tricks to DMing. We hinted about it a little bit in the last episode, so we figured we better follow up on it before anybody angrily types at us.
yeah, we don't like angry typing people. Okay, so what?
Nothing.
You don't like to anger?
No, if you have any complaints,
Send them to we don't care @gmail.com.
send them to gamerjoe@gmail.com.
Yeah, no, we should get Gamer Joe's email.
Send it to Gamer Joe.
Just send it
He's
to-
like, guys, why am I getting all these?
Why am I getting all these
Why am I
emails?
getting all this hate mail?
Speaking of, this is not related, but I learned something that might be kind of fun.
Okay.
And my wife was talking to her father and her mother, whatever. She's talking to her family.
Okay.
And they have a picture frame. Her father does. That we're buying one for her mother now. So I might buy one for the store. Let's
Okay.
be honest. And what you can do is the picture frame is one of those picture frames you put the thumb drive in and have all the rotating pictures.
Oh, okay.
But the picture frame my father-in-law has an email address associated to it that he created for just that picture frame. And you can tell that if somebody sends a picture to that email address under a certain format,
Yeah.
right? You can exclude certain things. It just pops that picture up on your picture frame.
Interesting.
That could be interesting because then we could literally like pop up. I mean, obviously some of the meatheads would abuse the crap out of it, but I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to have in the store. Sitting at home one day, oh, that's a cool picture. Poof, pow, just send it. And the next day, people are coming in to see what the new picture is for the day. I'm sure we'd just get memes. It would just be memes, rotating. But I thought it was really interesting. So we're going to buy that for my mother-in-law. And I think that once I get to play with that, when we get that here, I think it's coming in next week, maybe the week after. Then if it was really that cool, I might buy one for the store.
Okay.
Just why not? Like, we always want pictures of stuff, and I always wanted to have like a rotating banner of things in the store. Like one of the goals was, speaking of the DM thing, when you have like 5 or 6 DMs, sometimes it's a little chaotic to try and figure out what days they can DM on and at what times. But I have a TV back here that I was going to use for the rotating banner. Then I need, a dedicated computer to sit there and just cycle through. It's not a smart TV, so yeah.
New idea.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be Shop Talk Part 2.
Okay.
I lied to you all. We bamboozled you. It's not the DM episode.
No,
it's Shop
we're
Talk.
doing Shop Talk?
Shop Talk.
Hey, let's do it.
So, one of the other things we talked about in one of the last episodes was a DM conference.
Yep.
The idea of getting all our DMs
somehow
magically together here at one time and pitching the idea of the whole starter sets.
Right.
What do you think about the idea of doing like an annual or a semi-annual like just DM jamboree?
Like a jamboree, like
I don't know. I call it a jamboree, but I don't know what to call it.
Get together and
a DM like session, I guess.
We all get together and DM each other.
Well, yeah. Well, we all get together and like we just talk about like how the games are going.
Yeah.
Some of the things maybe like that we could do around the shop and like just get like a collective think tank of ideas for the store.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's less of a retail store, more of a hangout now.
We are shifting. Sorry, I keep saying we, but
no. Well, it is we because it's. I mean, we got people paying membership fees to stay here and keep it open, and so I mean, it is a we thing now. It's not just a Scott thing anymore.
And it's kind of unfortunate too, that the storefront thing isn't really a vibe anymore. But at the end of the day, like we're getting use out of the space, and we're all contributing in one way or another.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what's important.
Yeah, no, that's more important to have the community than it was to have a specific retail. And it doesn't mean that at some point more space opens up, we can't have a bigger retail front, a bigger investment to.
I mean, in a perfect world,
more stuff.
Perfect world, we just
get the whole building.
Get the whole building, and then put the store there, the event center there,
right?
Or the store there, the other store there, and then the event center.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah, that would be ideal, but. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with
printers in the back room.
Right? Yeah, well, that would be nice.
Wouldn't that be great?
Just block off the whole area over there. Just have all printers. Why not?
Have an air scrubber.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. Let's go talk to the guys next.
Well, your daughter and I were talking about that the other day.
Oh, okay. Oh, so my daughter's in on this too already.
Yeah,
great.
She's already sold on the idea.
Yeah, so. I think so too. I know my wife and I were talking about purging everything we have at the house. In the shop and stuff because she can't woodwork as much as she wants, and her days of being a heavy duty mechanic are pretty much gone now.
Yeah,
and so now it's just down to the little stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, why don't we just sell everything that we don't consider critical to our survival?
Yeah,
let's keep our woodworking tools, whatever we can put in our mudroom, because we have a fairly decent sized mudroom in our garage.
Yeah.
We could put our whole woodworking, or even in the basement, we have a whole extra room in our basement that's half the size of the house because it's an unfinished base. Well, half the basement's unfinished.
Right.
We could put all of our woodworking tools down there, put a little sawdust system in there, and then everything else we just get rid of. We could do the same thing essentially here. Just get rid of everything we don't want and just turn it into something we do want.
I could tell you from experience that I have moved several times into buildings that are extraordinarily small.
Yeah.
We talked about this in the last Shop Talk episode where, downsizing where to store everything.
Right.
I've downsized my everything several times. And every time you do, it's like, it's kind of nice because basically my rule of thumb was like, if you don't look at it or it's in a box for over a year, why do you even have it?
Right.
Like if you haven't used it in a year, why do you
have it? Well, yeah, and that's the thing. We have a lot of stuff at the house that we used to use, but we're getting older and we don't have as many big interests.
And you can't even look at it as like, oh, I used to use this, or oh, if this was gone, then I would use this more. It's no, I haven't used this in 5 years.
Right?
Why do I have it?
Yeah, no, right. And there's things I will use once we have room. Like if we had a little woodworking area downstairs, which we don't have right now because we haven't invested the time or money into it. Like I have a pen lathe. and a little
that's fun.
small
That's
lathe,
so fun.
just literally for making small things. And I want to do that, and I've done it, but right now with all the other stuff that we've cluttered,
I almost ended up buying a small lathe because I was doing fishing lures for a long time.
yeah, that's really cool.
And it's fun for making like spy baits
Yep.
or like jerk baits or whatever, and like it's pretty cool.
We could do. Oh wow. Hmm.
But yeah, it's the idea of like just kind of like reformatting
Yeah.
your personal hard drives more or less.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And
I don't remember where we're going with this. I got excited though.
well, we're talking about the building.
Oh, the building. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that'd be nice because then like that door we could use it.
I know.
Like, oh man, it'd be.
I'd just take out that whole wall and just call it an overflow.
Yeah. But then you could do the tea store over there.
Yeah.
And then we could do the game store here, and then have the event center over there.
Tea store?
Yeah, the thrift store.
Oh, sorry.
That's big.
I was like, what are we selling tea for, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get that into tea. Jeez, my daughter would, but I don't
Green
think
tea, Rojo tea.
Did you know, for side fact, that most of the tea you buy at the store is not actually the tea leaves? They say they're tea leaves, but they're just like the leftover crumbs from the actual premium tea. The premium tea leaves go to premium places, and I'm not talking in store. We're talking like high-end restaurants, super wealthy families, and high-end hotels.
So when I'm drinking tea, I'm drinking the stems.
You're literally drinking the leftovers, the crumbles that come off the line. I've watched the whole documentary. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, anyway, I mean that makes sense. I mean, it's like the offcuts, right? It's like, this is a weird analogy, but it's very similar to tobacco.
Yeah.
Like the chewing tobacco. Yep. That was always like the offcuts,
the leftover stuff.
It was just like
it's like, well, what do we do with that? We'll turn it into.
I don't know. We'll put it in a barrel and sell it to people.
Right.
Maybe they'll chew on it. So. Yeah, that was always a thing too. That's a weird offshoot.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the shop talk.
It came into shop talk. So yeah, I think a general. I mean, it's been the mood in the shop for the past, I would say 3-4 months, maybe even longer, that some sort of restructuring needs to take place.
Yeah, and that's always hard though, because you get used to something a certain way, and you get used to how things work. And then you have to trust on other people to do their end. And if that doesn't happen, then you don't have, like, literally, if I just said, okay, we're just going to put more table space in here, we're going to get rid of a lot of the retail or almost all the retail, then you really have to rely on the people here. Say you, for instance, not that you don't do your share. I'm just saying we'd have to rely on everybody like you that comes in here, Gamer Joe, they'd all have to do their share to keep the store running.
So,
like, literally.
And here's a fun thing. I had an experiment with this several years ago.
Yep.
This exact thing. Where we had a community center.
Yep.
That everybody kind of chipped in, did their equal part. You got a key.
Yep.
And then you'd come in and you'd run your games. The trouble we ended up having was we had 10 heads of the serpent.
Yeah, right.
And all of them were biting at each other.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 or 3 of us were actually pulling our weight and taking care of keeping everything stocked for refreshments, keeping the bathrooms clean, keeping the space clean. And we all just kind of got fed up with it over time.
Right.
And we, it kind of came down to the idea, and I learned this through this process of doing it twice, that at the end of the day, someone has to be in charge.
Yeah. No, of course.
And it doesn't matter if they're the best person for it. Like,
no, someone has to.
Someone just has to make decisions, because at the end of the day, someone has to be liable for what's going on.
Yeah.
And someone has to be able to tell somebody, no, you need to clean up your stuff or it's going to be gone.
Yeah. No, for me, that's my biggest issue is I don't like telling people what to do. I don't mind being in charge, but I don't feel like I should have to tell adults to clean up the table after.
I have no problem with being a dick about it.
Right, yeah. No.
But when people quit listening, and it's not that they just weren't listening to me, like it's not about me.
No.
It's when people quit doing what they were supposed to do, or quit cleaning up after
themselves.
Quit
cleaning up after themselves.
I started doing things that people didn't like throwing people's stuff away. If you left it out on the table, I'm sorry. I told you months in advance on this date, over and over.
Yeah.
I said, after this date, if you leave anything out, it is gone when I clean. Because I cleaned. We had a gal that came in and cleaned, one of the gamers, or one of the people on board, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Came in and cleaned 2 or 3 times a week.
Yep.
And then every 2 weeks or sometimes every week, I would go through and I would tidy everything up that she didn't take care of.
Right.
So that would be like books and minis and tables and
Right.
chairs. I'd open everything up and clean it all off, and I'd just make sure everything was nice and prim and proper. And I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. I
Right.
just did it. And then, but some of the other owners and stuff, or the other key holders at the time, were like, "Oh, you're doing this?" I said, "Yeah, I've been doing it for over a year."
Right.
And I said, I just haven't claimed it or said anything because it needed to be done.
Right.
It was something that needed to be done, and I just did it. You guys think the magical fairies came in and took care of it?
Yeah, is that how it happens? I've seen that movie
And
before.
the trouble was, I didn't say anything to anybody, and then it ended up weighing down on me, and I eventually left because I'm like, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, no.
And it was on me because I should have voiced
Right.
what I was
Right.
doing and said something about it. And so like that's part of the thing too, is like the communication. At the end of the day, someone has to be a scheduler too.
Yeah.
Your daughter's been doing it now.
Yeah.
Where like if this was a true community place of like everybody has equal share, well, how do we determine if Gamer Joe or Gamer John gets
Right.
Tuesday evening for their game?
Right. Right.
And so that's where having that person in charge, and you could split it up a little bit. You could have like, okay, well, this person's in charge of scheduling. This person's in charge of the fundamental day-to-day stuff that
Right.
happens here. This person is in charge of, they get to be the jerk. They get to be the a-hole that says, hey, you didn't clean your stuff up,
Right.
so you can't leave stuff here anymore.
Right.
If you do, it's gone.
Right.
And, so someone like, and you just take the people that are best at doing those things and you just delegate to them to say, hey, you know what, Javen, you're kind of an a-hole. Why don't you be in charge of telling people if they don't clean the pizza cutter that we're going to get rid of it?
It's such a stupid thing.
It's
Why
stupid,
so
but
hard to not
it's
clean
so hard.
pizza cutter.
I don't get it, but I have. I've done it. I mean, I just put the impetus on me to do it, and you're like, I don't care.
No, I don't.
Because I was sick. I was sick of going to cook a pizza.
Me
and the
too.
Pizza cutters,
Me too.
like,
That's why I just started using my pocket knife.
Yeah,
I'm
you just started using a pocket knife. I just took away the pizza cutter. I said,
like,
you guys
I'm done with
aren't going
this.
to be able to cook pizzas here,
so stupid.
or you're going to have to bring your own cutlery because
Yeah.
I'm hiding it now.
Yeah.
I
no.
clean it, so I'll use it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they ruined it for everybody else.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And
I agree.
and like I have no qualms with being the jerk about stuff like that. But like, and that's ultimately how you kind of build a community to take care of a space from
Right.
what I've learned.
Yeah, no, I think that's the ideal way of doing it too. I don't know. For me, it's just something that it's easier now that my daughter's doing stuff too, because she can just do the stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That helps. But on the other hand, like, it's just okay. So I do this for, say, maybe another 20 years, right?
Right.
I would love to keep doing this till I'm gone, like dead. And my goal would be is that I left something for one of my 2 kids to take over and run too.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can keep, because I know I've said this many times in the podcast. I'll say it many times again, I'm sure. If I'd been in my 20s and I found a place I could hang out at and game and got along with people that had similar interests, we wouldn't have had the 80s D&D crisis and the 90s D&D crisis where we were all devil worshippers and baby killers.
Yeah, where you're playing in your mom's basement.
Well, no, I mean, everybody thought we were devil worshippers and baby killers back then because, the played evil games and the demons were getting you.
I think a lot of that has left.
Right, but I think a lot of it's because there are game stores out there where people can go to play, and the owners are like, hey, they're going to just come here and play.
And not only that, but like even in mainstream media, it's become kind of decloaked, demystified.
Yeah, right. It's all of a sudden it's not as bad as people
the honestly, it's kind of funny because the 80s and 90s too had a lot of, and even early 2000s when I started gaming, and even 2010s, like every game I've ever played has had their gatekeepers. It's had the people that are like, oh, you're not good enough to do this, or oh, you don't understand how to do this. I'm not going to take the time to show you.
Right.
Well, there's been like a paradigm shift where now it's like almost cool.
Right.
So to speak, to like be like, hey man, you want to learn how to play D&D? Come play.
Yep.
Come to our game. And people that do that have kind of stepped to the forefront now.
Yeah.
The people that are willing to explain and teach and get people interested in the hobbies that they're interested in has demystified it.
Yeah.
And it's made it more accessible to everybody.
Yeah, it definitely has.
Like the accessibility of playing tabletop style games, be it RPGs or war games or board games,
Right.
the community has become so much more welcoming in the past decade since I've started
Yeah.
playing. You know, it's not just like, and people don't turn up their noses at it either because they're not like, oh, you're a nerd because you do this, and it's
No.
not even a derogatory
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
anymore.
No, it's not really anything
It's
anymore.
like we've kind of turned it into a badge of honor,
Right.
but not insofar as gatekeeping people from it.
Right.
You know, you don't hear people be like, I've never had the instance of someone being like, oh, I'm playing D&D and I'm having fun, and someone be like, well, I've been playing D&D for 10 years and I know how to have more fun than you.
Right. No.
And it's like you just don't encounter that right
No.
now, especially not in our community, because we fostered a really,
Right.
you know, we've curated the community pretty carefully over the past
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah. Because you need to. You can't have the bad. The bad. Um. What is it? What are they called? Bad characters or the?
Bad apples.
Uh, yeah, we'll go with bad apples. You just gotta you gotta curate a little bit. You know, you don't want to exclude anybody, but you also have to I've always been firm on my rules. Like
Yeah.
you can come here and play as long as you're not disrupting and being a total
Jerk.
yeah. If you're gonna be that, then have a nice day. We don't need you.
Yeah, and my rule of thumb for it has always been if what you're doing is causing other players to not want to play or not want to be there,
Right.
I'm sorry, but you're not invited anymore.
Right. You just need to right.
I will
Exactly.
have the talk with you and say, look,
Yeah.
you need to change the way you're playing because it's literally causing other people to not want to play.
Yeah.
You're having fun is at the expense of 3 other people having
Right.
fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to take 3 gamers over 1 gamer every day.
Yeah, and it sucks because sometimes those people are your friends, and you're like, well, I mean,
I've
sorry,
done
bud.
it to my friends.
Yeah, no, and you have to.
Like,
And that I've stuck to that since day one here. I've really just made it as fair and equal as I possibly can on everybody. Some people say I haven't or whatever, but they're full of crap because I haven't never favored say you over Gamer Joe.
yeah,
I mean, you've had a key, but that's only because I can trust you.
yeah.
And you run games here all the time. Gamer Joe is not interested in running games on a day that I'm not here.
Right.
And so he only shows up to play. So there's no reason to even consider giving him a key.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like,
But that's the thing is like you've been fair, and like that's all anybody can ask.
yeah, well, that's
You know, to be fair and to be consistent, that's the guy that's in charge.
yeah.
If you're fair and consistent, you don't have to be right all the time,
No, definitely not right all the time, but
but you have to be fair and
Yeah.
you have to be consistent.
consistently being dinked one way.
And the rules need to be clear, which they've always been here.
I try to make them clear.
You know,
Yeah.
it's and that's at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for whoever's in charge of your gaming community.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll have a gamer group and a DM get together and
There's another thing I want to talk about too that's kind of interesting, and I've noticed it in the wargaming community.
uh-oh.
And that is in a lot of the wargaming communities, especially in smaller communities like we have here, I've noticed it now. And it's like if Gamer Joe wants to play Gamer John in like Warhammer, let's say,
Yep.
it's a new thing. They come to me for some reason and say, hey, I want to play Gamer Joe. I said, well, okay, we'll talk to Gamer Joe then. You guys
Right.
set up a day to play.
Yeah.
Like, we have pretty clear instructions on like,
Right.
hey, like me and one of the other gamers play every Thursday.
Right.
But we've had instances where Gamer Joe has showed up and we're like, oh, he's like, well, I want to play. And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's an open day. Anybody can play.
Right.
We didn't schedule a match or anything beforehand, but we're like, oh, that's fine. And we just kind of worked around it. But the trouble is like, in a lot of the board gaming communities, and even in like the tabletop communities and board games, one person ends up having to schedule everything.
Right.
And I think your daughter is going to come into this a little
Yeah,
bit.
she has. Well, I kind of
she
pushed
is-
her into it.
well, I mean, she
she
is
wanted to do it, so
Right, and she is scheduling things, but the thing is like she shouldn't have to feel that she needs to be present for every one of them.
right. No, exactly.
That's the issue that I'm kind of
Yeah.
touching on is like
Yeah.
it almost feels like every time a war game's happening, I'm here.
Right.
Granted, I have a key and I'm
Right.
usually opening it for the people to play, but like I don't want the players to feel like they have to play me every time,
Right.
because that's just not fair. right? Like,
Yeah, we're gonna be stuck with that a little bit
and
because
we are a smaller community, so
right.
there's like,
So we can't. Not everybody can't have a key, but
right.
if say Gamer Joe plays a more often, and or even the other guy that shows up plays with you on a regular basis, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I don't have a problem giving the other guy a key. I really don't. It's just never needed to because why have a key for him when there's always a key holder here with him?
Oh, and that's the thing too, is like we had it when we were playing Star Wars Legion. We had like 5 active players,
Yeah.
and 2 of us had keys.
So
So
you, Matt, and then uh Anders.
so yeah, well, we all had keys.
Yeah.
But the trouble was, is we had an instance where I think it was 3 of the key holders couldn't make it,
Yeah.
and the other 2 guys wanted to play.
Yeah.
And so it ended up becoming this thing, like it was like almost implied that you had to play one of the 3 key holders.
Right.
And it was unfortunate, and it kind of tapered off and caused that to kind of crash and burn a little
I
bit.
think I've discovered that a lot of players will come in, and just a perfect example of one of our players that does our Warhammer, our Saturday Warhammer game.
Okay.
He is always under the assumption that the store has to be closed before he can start playing.
Oh, okay, yeah, we've come
And I
across
think that's the problem that the gamers on this Legion. Well, Thursdays have been closed off and on for other reasons because of the food pantry. I run a food pantry too, and that's been running considerably later. So it makes it a little harder for me to be down here at noon to open up and just be here and all this and that. But I think that also didn't help with some of the other players that were coming into playing. Is they feel like they can't come in on a Tuesday to play.
Well, and that's the thing. I've been trying to break that mold
Scheduling.
for
You guys
people.
can come in on Tuesday if you want at noon and play. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And that's what I've been trying to pitch to people.
Right.
I'm like
Only hours aren't available is the scheduled ones.
when me and that other guy played the one time, I'm like, hey, let's come in before the store opens.
Right.
I talked to Guff. He doesn't care.
Oh.
He's more than happy to have us playing a game, because if a customer walks in and they see us having fun playing a game, they're like, oh, how do I get into that?
Exactly. That's crazy.
It's great advertising. That's how game stores make a lot of money. Is they come in and they see like Warhammer. That's how I got into Warhammer initially.
Yeah.
I walked into a game store up in the FM area,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, this looks badass. How do I get into
Doing?
this?
I want to try that.
You have all these little toy soldiers on a model of Normandy Beach on D-Day, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And then I go over and I see all the vampire knights and the giant elf riding griffins, killing orcs, and I'm like, this is awesome. How do I do this? And I was immediately hooked.
Right. Yeah. And that I would love to have that all the time. That would be the ideal. I suppose with the restructure and moving the tables and stuff, maybe that can happen easier.
I think a lot of the trouble that happens is, I would say probably 80 to 90% of the gamers that we have here are used to that idea of, we played at somebody else's house, or we played in somebody's basement, or we played, wherever. And for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, they've had this mentality of, oh, it's a private thing.
Right.
And I get that. Like, there's time and place for that. Like with that DM running his games after the store is closed, that's fine. And running a game session while the store is open can be a little difficult.
Oh, it can be. It definitely. If you're running any kind of tabletop RPG, it's a little
different,
troublesome. But if you're playing a war game or even a board game,
yeah,
that's not a big deal.
No,
like dice games, whatever. Any of that trading card games, all that's easily played when there's other people walking around the store.
And it's great to have an advocate as well. I know you've talked about this before, but a lot of the bigger game stores actually hire people specifically to demo games when people come in. People are looking at a game like, hey, you want to play a hand real quick?
Yeah.
See if you like it.
That's crazy. Yeah, man, I can't even imagine how cool it'd be to have just to say, hey, I need to hire someone just
to play board games. Yeah.
Like I want to live in an area that has enough people to do that.
Well, one of the places, there was a gentleman who frequented the game stores for many years in the town I lived previously. And we'll call him Gamer David.
Okay.
And Gamer David knew every board game ever.
Just knew them
all. He magically knew every single one. Like, I don't know how Magic, Basically
kind of witch
everything.
doctor magic.
Everything. He's the guy that taught me Sentinels.
Okay.
And that's probably one of his favorite games of all time. And
Fun game.
anyways, he just hung out at the game stores, and it was like his free time thing.
Right.
And if people were ever like, "Hey, I want to play a game," or how does this game work?" Like I remember one time a gal came in, and she was going to college in the town, and she's like, "Hey, I want to learn Magic." And there's two of us playing Warhammer in the store, and a couple other guys, and we all just kind of like looked at Gamer David, and David's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah,
And
I'll do this.
And so he explained Magic the Gathering to her, taught her how to play.
She's like, "Do you work here?" He's like, "No, I just hang out."
So the best part is when they opened a new game store, there was a fracture, so to speak, where a lot of the wargamers decided to open their own game store.
Okay.
That was a wargaming, tabletop RPG, board game store. They didn't
Right.
do Magic or cards at all.
Right.
And he got hired on there. And so he worked there, I think just on the weekend here and there, but he still hung out all the time.
Right.
And it was great because he basically got more or less paid to play games.
I mean,
And he was kind of a rare breed because I know a lot of game store owners get kind of jaded with playing games because they're around it so much.
yeah, it wears on you after a while. You're like, I just don't want to.
Yeah, I just don't want to. But I'd never ever heard him say I don't want to. Like I knew that guy for probably 5-6 years.
Right.
And I think he's still kicking around and doing the same thing.
Probably.
But yeah, he was just always about I will play. Didn't matter
Right.
who with. He would teach you anything. He would
Right.
learn it, then you could come back the next day and you could play.
Well, to be fair though, people who are listening and people who are judging now, just because I don't want to play doesn't mean I don't like to play. I do like to play. I just have priorities have to be different. I have to pay the bills. The bills have to get paid. And if I'm thinking about the next board game, I'm not thinking about how to make money for the next bill.
And that was one of the guys that ran the game store that I used to frequent a lot. I talked to him about that. Him and his brother, they ran
Yep.
it together. And you know, I talked to him like, "Hey, you want to play a game?" He's like, "I'd love to, but I'm literally working right now.
Yeah.
Like if I don't do this, this won't get done."
Right. Yeah. Some things just don't get done.
And some things don't get done. And I'm like, "Okay, I get it." And then to ask him to come and play after hours, well, the store is still open, so people are going to be coming up and asking him for stuff. You know, he only worked like 8 hours, but the store was open for like 12.
Right.
So him and his brother traded off.
Right.
But it would be just like awkward. So what we ended up doing was we ran a Blood Bowl league, and him and his brother played. But if you were going to schedule a game against those two, it had to be like either during non-peak hours or on a day where like nothing was happening.
Right.
But basically, like, they had their set times that they would play.
These are the times we're going to play. That is it. Sorry,
But we
guys.
finally did convince them to play. And like we played games with them. Me and another buddy of mine, we played games with them. Like we'd come hang out and they'd open the store for us,
Right.
and we'd play games. So like it was fun, and like they were very good about like the Warhammer community back then about keeping the store open late for the guys to play.
Right.
You know, and
Well, you keep making money doing that, so it's kind of important.
yeah, and like they bent over backwards to support those guys, and like it was just I don't know. There's so much to running a game store. I've never ran a game store, but I've been adjacent to a lot of people that run game stores and had conversations with them. And there's just so many facets to it, and it's so hard to please everybody.
Well, that is the number one problem. It is hard to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
But you want to, because let's say even now, yesterday I had someone come in. Well, no magic, no magic. Well, yeah, right, no magic. But if I go and spend $600 on magic, I'm not spending money on anything else.
Right.
And then I'm making 8 people happy. I mean, yeah, I probably should be doing that, but I don't want it to be just that thing where people play just magic. You know what I mean?
And that's the trouble too, is like because we are a small community, we're a small town.
Frankly, magic burned me, man. When Wizards of the Coast decided that you couldn't host any magic in store, and if they found out you were, they were gonna like talk to the people and tell them that they couldn't sell magic to you.
Yeah.
They were literally doing that during the thing, and then everybody went to online because Arena took off so big.
Yep.
Even half the guys that come in here now, even if they were going to buy magic cards, they still go and play Arena.
Yep.
Instead of trying to, hey, let's go play Commander this weekend, or When was the last time you heard that?
Well, actually, pretty recently. That's just me.
Okay.
Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I don't hear it very often.
no. Well, the trouble is, no one owns physical cards anymore, as far as Commander's concerned.
Right.
It used to be like back in like 2013 through 20, I would say 18.
2018, 2019, yeah, 2020
it was
even.
just like, man, you'd be like, hey, you want to play online? People like give you a sour look.
Like, what?
Like, what?
Why would
no,
I play
we're playing
online?
on paper, dude.
Yeah,
Like, we
right.
totally play. When we used to do proxy tournaments and stuff, and like, we had a blast with it, but like playing online, we're not gonna do
Right.
that.
Now everybody can just play online. It doesn't matter.
And now everyone wants to play online, and it's like it's such a weird like paradigm shift.
It is. Well, it costs them barely anything to play online.
That's true. The time wise,
You go on Arena and you can earn all the cards you want over time. Got to play a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's so weird because like the formats on Arena, I'm just not a big fan of the formats on Arena. Like, I mean, some of it's okay, like the historical brawl and all that's cool, but like they're so careful about what they do, and I get it because like the modern formats, the eternal format, the legacy, the vintage, is scary for new players. Like if you go to Magic and you're like, oh, what's this, and then you lose on turn one, you're like, oh, I don't want to play this game. This is awful. And so they can kind of curate it a little bit better. I get that. There's just it's hard to please everybody.
It is. It's just.
I rambled a little bit there.
No, that's a fine line. Well, that's fine. That's what Shop talks about, right?
Yeah.
It's just a fine line trying to dictate what is, what isn't. And it's scary because I personally been paying for this place for 10 years, keeping it going, keeping the people coming, working my butt off, even through a rift that the other place had.
Yeah.
I still kept most of the people coming here. Just explain to them, hey, the rift is between them two, not me.
Yeah.
Even though somehow I got thrown into it. But it's irrelevant. The relevancy is we kept the store open. We kept it open for people who wanted a place to go. And there's a little bit of a lot of people don't understand. And I know even some people in my household don't necessarily even understand. My wife's like, well, I can't get you to go on a trip because you won't leave your store. Well, that's not true. I'm happily leave the store. I would happily go to Texas for 3 months out of the year if I knew that I'd come home and my store would still be here.
But
right now I can't do that because there's no, like, my daughter's old enough now to start taking over, right? So I can, that's a definite thing that could happen now.
Possibility, yeah.
But people are like, why would you want to keep this open? It goes all the way back to having a place to play. There's a kid that came into town not that long ago, and it was probably 6 months ago or so, right before winter. And he drove into town. He's from Texas, never been in northern Minnesota his entire life, didn't know what hadn't even stopped in at his job to meet the person that recruited him.
Yeah.
The first place he stopped was here.
He saw a game store.
And he's like, something I can understand. Yep. He went into a game store, and I guarantee that if I wouldn't have been as decent to him as I was, and straightforward, because I've treated him the same way I've treated everybody that's come through, he would have jumped ship and took off and went right back and he'd be miserable where he was.
Yep.
He may be miserable now, but it'd be
miserable and can play games.
But he's miserable and he can play games every week, right? He's got a game store he can go to. And that's my biggest concern with changing anything is I don't want to lose that ability to be able to have that open for people.
Yep.
Literally, that's it.
And that goes all the way back to me. And this was like a formative thing for me because this happened to me when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And we had that jam studio.
Yeah, Downtown Jam.
And it was a matter of like we want a place where musicians can come and hang out and meet each other and form bands and just have a good time.
Right.
And we want it to be inclusive and welcoming to anybody. We don't care if you play blues or country or metal or what.
I know. I love watching those old videos.
And it was such a good time. And
so many different
at the end of the day,
through.
I think it failed at the end of the day. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but the fundamental reason that it failed at the end of the day is because people just lost interest or it wasn't active for a couple weeks, and that random person walking in, that would have maybe stayed for a year, didn't show up.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't open.
Right. Yeah, because it wasn't open.
Because
or the group from World comes down and they want to play, and jam out, because every Friday there's always been a jam session going on, but maybe the person who opened up that day, like maybe you and your band were out of town, and the other guy that was running it was wherever he was.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's nothing.
And then the bottom falls out and the top falls.
Yeah, and there was the person who was supposed to pick up the slack after that. It's like, well, nobody else is around, so why should I be there?
Right, exactly.
Where if you have that's my biggest concern. Is there was never anybody to take over for me if I'm not here.
Yeah.
Hence why I didn't want to go on vacations. I don't want to take trips, because if I'm gone, I don't make money. I don't pay rent. I don't pay rent. The landlord gets excited. Then I have to pay 2 months of rent instead of 1 month of rent.
Yep.
And then I got to figure out, well, how am I going to pay you this much money over this much money? And no, I don't want to have bad rep with anybody.
Yep.
I don't want to keep the store open. I don't want someone to come in and show up going, oh, Friday night. I don't want my DMs to show up and go, why has the lock's been changed? And where's the stuff in the store? And why is there a big sign in the store that says evicted,
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. It's coming. Something's going to happen.
Anyways, we've been rambling on for a while, so that's shop talk.
Shop talk for you.
We'll end on a good note, and I'll say that I love you, the listener. And
well, that was nice of you. You never told me that, just so you know.
Yeah. So that's the high note for the end of it.
Later.
Peace.